In a peaceful American diner, a noisy bully struck a lone father, completely unaware that the composed individual he targeted was once a renowned Delta Force expert. The events that followed stunned the entire room. Like, share, and subscribe. And let us know your location as you watch this. Now, let us begin the tale. The sun had only started rising above the little community of Maple Ridge, spreading a gentle golden light over the icy glass panes of the Maple Ridge Diner. Within the place, the aroma of newly brewed coffee and frying bacon drifted everywhere while morning visitors eased into their seats. Luke Carter, a reserved single father with weary eyes yet a serene demeanor, occupied a spot close to the corner window alongside his 8-year-old daughter, Ava. Luke had on an aged flannel shirt, with sleeves pushed up a bit to avoid syrup stains, exposing a worn tattoo on his forearm. Hardly anyone ever spotted it, and Luke preferred things that way. Ava laughed softly while pouring plenty of maple syrup over her pancakes, her tiny legs dangling under the seat. Luke grinned warmly, thankful for such tranquil times. Existence had proven difficult since Ava's mother died, yet Luke ensured his child never sensed the burden he held within. His tattoo, an emblem recognized solely by former comrades, represented his service in Delta Force periods packed with operations no one discussed. In this modest town, he remained merely Ava's father, an auto repairman, a silent person who stayed private. That was everything he desired. The diner entrance abruptly flew open with a sharp noise, causing several patrons to startle. Rick Morgan, a familiar neighborhood disruptor, marched in heavily. His leather coat hung partly zipped, his shoes covered in dirt, and his expression showed clear annoyance. Employees shared anxious looks. Rick constantly created disorder anywhere he appeared, grumbling objections. He pushed by to senior gentlemen and banged his hand on the counter. Since his regular spot was occupied, his gaze swept the area, fixing on Luke's tattoo. A grin formed on his lips. Rick enjoyed picking victims. Rick strode toward Luke's table and bent forward, disrupting the peaceful space the parent and child shared. Cool tattoo, he mocked in a raised voice, ensuring others noticed. Where did you pick it up? Some bargain. Store on the internet. Luke focused his attention on Ava, choosing not to respond. Rick despised being overlooked. Hey, I'm speaking to you, Grandpa. Ava's utensil stopped halfway to her lips, detecting the strain. Luke rested a comforting palm on her shoulder. He avoided conflict, especially before his child. Never on this day nor any day, yet Rick's ego could not tolerate quiet. Driven by anger and the urge to show off for possible observers, Rick abruptly hit Luke on the cheek. A crisp, resounding strike rang across the diner. Shocked breaths echoed around. A server clutched a dish tightly. Ava's eyes grew large with fright, her tiny fingers shaking as she stretched toward her father. Luke remained still for a prolonged moment. He merely inhaled evenly and steadily, like someone who had endured much greater threats than a blow from an arrogant thug. Gradually, Luke raised his sight, locking eyes with Rick, using a composure so unnerving that the diner grew utterly hushed. Rick had not yet grasped it, but he had just overstepped a boundary he never should have approached. Rick's grin vanished once he truly saw the expression in Luke Carter's eyes, steady, unwavering, and icier than anything he had encountered. It lacked rage. It showed no dread. It reflected the poise of a person who had navigated battlefields and endured horrors Rick could never comprehend. Luke avoided hasty action. He just set a palm on the surface, confirming Ava stayed secure next to him. The diner remained quiet. Each patron sat motionless in suspense. No one inhaled deeply. Ava pulled lightly at her father's sleeve, murmuring, "Daddy, please." Luke offered her a brief, comforting nod prior to rising gradually. Rick attempted to mask his growing nervousness with an unsteady chuckle. "So what? Planning to weep or attempt anything?" he provoked, though his tone revealed weakness. Luke stayed silent. He moved around the seat with exact, measured motion, nothing dramatic, nothing hostile, purely stable. Rick lunged once more, but before observers could register it, Luke grasped his wrist smoothly, halting the swing in mid-motion. Surprised inhalations arose. Rick's eyes expanded. Luke exerted force not sufficient to harm. merely adequate to demonstrate that power did not always appear boisterous. Rick sank to one knee due to the discomfort, his assurance crumbling at that precise instant. Sheriff Daniels, who had been calmly having breakfast in a rear seat, rose. "That will do," he declared in a strong tone that reached throughout the diner. All understood the sheriff held deep regard for Luke, although few understood the reason. Daniels approached, palm on his weapon, gaze fixed on Rick. "You just attacked an honored soldier," he stated, his voice cutting. Rick stuttered. "I didn't realize." The sheriff shook his head. "Perhaps consider consequences before touching others." He glanced at Luke. "You all right?" Luke provided a slight nod, remaining composed, remaining firm, remaining master of himself. Luke freed Rick's wrist carefully, avoiding further escalation. The aggressor fell backward, holding his limb, gasping heavily. The sheriff retrieved restraints. "Rick Morgan, you are detained for attack." Rick's complexion grew ashen as the sheriff positioned him. "Sheriff, wait." He objected faintly. He hardly resisted. "And that is precisely why you are fortunate," the sheriff answered. "Had he resisted, you would need medical transport." The sheriff spoke truthfully. Those with knowledge recognized it. Luke had acted with the accuracy of someone once prepared to disable dangers instantly. As Rick was escorted from the diner, patrons offered subdued claps. Individuals acknowledged Luke respectfully, yet Luke merely rested a palm on Ava's back, leading her softly back to their seat. Her eyes remained broad, but she produced a tiny grin. "Daddy, you stayed so calm," she murmured, respect glowing amid her concern. Luke tucked in stray hair from her forehead. "Because true power," he replied gently, "lies in deciding when not to apply it." Ava embraced him firmly. Round them, the diner resumed normal activity. But all who saw the incident would always remember the day a thug struck a reserved lone father, unaware he faced a Delta Force hero.